pale moon hangs pregnant in the sky above Yharnam, its light filtering through blood-misted streets where the hunt never truly ends. You stand in the hunter's dream, watching as reality tears apart like old parchment, and something descends from that lunar womb, something that should not exist yet defines existence itself. The moon presence rides before you, its skeletal frame draped in tattered flesh, ribs splayed open like the petals of some nightmarish flower. But what if this creature, this supposed puppet master of the hunt, harbors a secret so profound that discovering it would rewrite everything you thought you knew about Bloodborne's cosmic horror? Welcome, lore seekers, to another deep dive with Keen 7 lore, where today we're unraveling what might be the most transformative revelation in all of Yharnam's blood-soaked mysteries. The theory we're exploring isn't just another interpretation, it's a fundamental reimagining of Bloodborne's entire narrative structure. What if the Moon Presence, that skeletal horror that binds Gehrman to eternal servitude, is actually the physical manifestation of Oedon, the formless Great One whose invisible influence permeates every corner of this cursed city? This isn't speculation born from wishful thinking. The evidence threads through item descriptions, visual design choices, mythological parallels, and even developer hints that most players never connect. When you start examining these connections, Bloodborne's story reveals depths in ways that are both terrifying and oddly beautiful. The hunt becomes something far more sinister than a mere cleansing of beasts. The hunter's dream transforms from sanctuary to cosmic womb, and you, the player, become an unwitting participant in a cycle of divine rebirth that makes every previous playthrough feel like a lie. You told yourself to sleep better at night. Consider for a moment the fundamental paradox at Bloodborne's heart. Oedon is described as formless, existing only in voice, yearning for surrogates to bear its children. The Moon Presence appears as the ultimate puppeteer, a very physical entity orchestrating hunts from its lunar throne. These seem like contradictions that would immediately disprove any connection. But what if that contradiction itself is the key? What if we're witnessing not two separate entities, but a single being in the process of the most profound transformation imaginable? A god learning how to exist. The hunt calls to us once again, and this time we're hunting for truth itself. The path ahead winds through blood-soaked chapels and dream-touched workshops, through ancient runes and newborn cries, through the very nature of what it means for a god to hunger. By the time we reach our journey's end, you'll never look at that pale moon the same way again. To understand how the formless could become form, we must first comprehend what Oedon truly is. The game tells us precious little directly, forcing us to piece together this entity's nature from fragments scattered like drops of blood across cobblestones. Oedon is unique among the Great Ones, described specifically as lacking form, existing only in voice. This isn't merely invisibility, it's a fundamental absence of physical presence in a game where even dreams have substance. The Caryll runes serve as our primary window into Oedon's nature. These symbols, transcribed from the inhuman utterings of the Great Ones, represent concepts made manifest. The Oedon rune increases quicksilver bullets when you perform visceral attacks, bullets that emerge from blood itself. The Formless Oedon rune grants additional quicksilver bullet capacity. Every mechanical benefit tied to Oedon involves blood transformed into something else, suggesting that blood itself might be Oedon's only tangible expression in the physical world. Oedon Chapel becomes fascinating when viewed through this lens. Here, in perhaps the humblest location in all of Yharnam, survivors gather unknowingly under the protection of a formless god. The chapel dweller, that gentle, broken creature, serves without understanding whom he serves. Yet everyone who shelters there becomes touched by Oedon's influence. Arianna, the woman of pleasure, becomes pregnant with a Great One's child despite never encountering anything physical that could impregnate her. The invisible made manifest through blood and birth. The yearning for surrogates reveals something profound about Oedon's nature. Unlike other Great Ones who lose their children and seek replacements, Oedon seeks vessels to create children. This isn't about replacement, it's about generation, creation, becoming. Every great one loses its child, the game tells us, and yearns for a surrogate. But Oedon's approach differs fundamentally. While others kidnap or transform existing beings, Oedon creates new life through mysterious conception. Blood echoes, the currency of power in Bloodborne, take on new meaning when connected to Oedon. These aren't just experience points or souls. They're literally the echoes of blood, the reverberations of life force itself. Every enemy you kill releases these echoes, and you absorb them, growing stronger. But where do they truly go? The doll in the hunter's dream channels them, helps you transform them into power. The Moon Presence oversees this entire process from its position above the dream. The system begins to look less like character progression and more like a cosmic feeding mechanism. Consider how Oedon's influence manifests throughout Yharnam. The blood ministration that started everything, the old blood discovered in the tombs beneath Byrgenwerth, the blood that transforms men into beasts, all of it connects back to this formless presence. Queen Yharnam, found weeping in the dungeons, carries Oedon's child, Mergo. The pregnancy persists even in death, even in dreams, because Oedon's children exist partially outside normal reality. The concept of voice becomes crucial when examining Oedon. In many mythologies, the voice of God creates reality itself, words spoken into void bringing forth existence. Oedon exists only in voice, which suggests not weakness but fundamental creative power. The Caryll runes are literally Oedon's words made visible, concepts given form through symbols. When we use these runes, we're speaking Oedon's language, participating in that creative force. If you're finding value in this exploration so far, consider subscribing to support the channel and join our growing community of lore enthusiasts. Your support truly makes these deep investigations possible, allowing us to dive ever deeper into gaming's most intricate mysteries. The ineffable becomes tangible when blood serves as medium. This is Oedon's genius or curse, existing between states, neither fully absent nor completely present. The Queen Yharnam fight demonstrates this perfectly. She bleeds continuously, her pregnancy eternal, her child crying out from somewhere beyond physical space. Oedon doesn't just use blood. Oedon arguably is blood in its most essential form, the life force that connects all living things. Now we turn our gaze upward, to that pale sphere that dominates Yharnam's sky and nightmares alike. The Moon Presence descends only in the game's final moments, when Gehrman's defeat tears open the boundary between dream and whatever lies beyond. Its appearance defies conventional description. A skeletal thing wrapped in decaying flesh, tentacles emerging from a split ribcage, a head that seems more absence than presence. This is supposedly our puppet master, the architect of the hunt's endless cycle. The hunter's dream exists because the Moon Presence wills it. Gehrman's deal, struck in desperation after the burning of old Yharnam, bound him as the dream's caretaker. The doll, modeled after Lady Maria, serves as conduit between hunter and power. The Moon Presence created this entire system, but the question that should haunt us is simple. Why? What does an apparently physical Great One gain from an endless cycle of hunting? The name itself deserves scrutiny. The game refers to this entity as the Nameless Moon Presence in Lawrence's notes, a curious contradiction. How can something be simultaneously nameless and specifically identified? Unless, of course, the name we know it by isn't truly its name at all. The Moon Presence might be a title, a description of its current state rather than its eternal identity. Flora, the name found in game files, connects to flowers and growth, but also to flowing, perhaps the flowing of blood under lunar influence. Paleblood emerges as another critical connection. The note in the lecture hall states definitively that Paleblood is another name for the Moon Presence. Your character arrives in Yharnam seeking Paleblood, and the game begins. But Paleblood also describes the sky during certain phases of the hunt, when the moon hangs fat and red before gradually paling. The transformation from Blood Moon to Pale Moon mirrors something deeper, a transformation from one state to another. The Moon Presence's behavior differs markedly from other great ones. While Ebrietas weeps in the church, while Ram hides beneath the lake, while Amygdala perches on buildings observing, the Moon Presence actively orchestrates. It creates systems, establishes cycles, manages outcomes. This isn't the behavior of a beast or even a typical great one. This is administrative, purposeful, almost parental in its twisted way. When the Moon Presence embraces you in the game's default ending, replacing Gehrman as the dream's guardian, the gesture feels almost tender. It doesn't destroy you. It assigns you a role in its grand design. Those skeletal arms wrap around you, not in violence, but in something resembling care, if such a word can apply to cosmic horror. You become part of the mechanism, another cog in whatever vast machine the Moon Presence operates. The visual design speaks volumes when analyzed carefully. The Moon Presence's ribcage splits open like a flowering plant, like birth itself. Its tentacles emerge from within, not as appendages, but as something being expelled or expressed from its core. The creature appears to be turning itself inside out, revealing internals that should remain hidden. This isn't just body horror, it's birth imagery, transformation imagery, the imagery of something emerging from within. The connection to blood moons throughout various mythologies and cultures adds another layer. Blood moons herald change, mark moments when boundaries weaken between worlds. In Bloodborne, the blood moon's appearance signals the hunt's escalation, when the line between man and beast blurs beyond recognition. The Moon Presence presides over these moments, drawing power from the blood spilled beneath its crimson light. The evidence connecting these two seemingly disparate entities requires careful examination, like a paleontologist reconstructing an ancient creature from scattered bones. The blood ecosystem serves as our first major clue. Every creature killed releases blood echoes, which you collect and channel through the doll to increase your power. The Moon Presence oversees this entire process from above, while Oedon, the formless god of blood, somehow exists everywhere blood exists. The overlap becomes difficult to ignore. Arianna's pregnancy provides perhaps the most direct evidence. She becomes pregnant without any physical encounter, carrying a child that emerges as a cosmic horror. The game strongly implies Oedon as the father, the formless god somehow impregnating through presence alone. But when does this happen? After the blood moon rises, when the Moon Presence's influence grows strongest. The timing suggests either remarkable coincidence or direct connection. The Caryll runes form a linguistic bridge between entities. The Moon rune, which grants additional blood echoes, shares mechanical similarities with Oedon's runes, which affect quicksilver bullets that emerge from blood. Both rune sets deal with blood transformation and power accumulation. More tellingly, both sets seem to speak the same cosmic language, as if emerging from the same source filtered through different aspects. Let's examine the Oedon Chapel more closely. This humble sanctuary, dedicated to the formless god, becomes a gathering place during the hunt. The chapel dweller speaks of feeling safe there, of something protecting the space. During the blood moon, when reality wears thin, the chapel remains remarkably stable. The Moon Presence's influence seems to respect this space, or perhaps recognizes it as familiar territory. The birth imagery pervading Bloodborne gains new meaning through this lens. The game obsesses over pregnancy, birth, and umbilical cords. Every great one loses its child and yearns for a surrogate. But if Oedon and the Moon Presence are connected, we're seeing this theme from two angles: the impregnator and the pregnant, the father and the mother, the formless seeking form through the miracle of birth. Consider the morphology of blood itself in the game. Blood heals, blood corrupts, blood transforms. The old blood discovered beneath Byrgenwerth started everything, transforming Yharnam into a city of beasts and miracles. Blood ministration became religion and addiction simultaneously. The Moon Presence presides over a hunt that spills endless blood, while Oedon exists wherever blood exists. The circular relationship becomes clear. Blood feeds the system that creates more blood. The hunter's dream itself functions as a kind of cosmic womb when viewed through this theoretical framework. Hunters die and return, each death-feeding blood echoes into the system. The doll, feminine in appearance and function, serves as nurturing presence, helping hunters grow stronger. The moon presence hovers above like an expectant parent, waiting for something to gestate, something to emerge from this endless cycle of death and rebirth. Musical motifs in the game's soundtrack provide subtle support. The themes associated with Oedon Chapel share harmonic elements with the moon presence's theme, though transformed and inverted. The composers, whether consciously or through artistic intuition, created sonic connections between these supposedly separate entities. The formless god's voice echoes in the moon presence's theme, distorted but recognizable. The concept of transcription becomes vital. Caryll transcribed the inhuman voices of the Great Ones into runes, making the incomprehensible partially comprehensible. But transcription always involves interpretation, translation, transformation. What if the moon presence represents Oedon transcribed into physical form? The formless voice made flesh through accumulated blood echoes through the endless hunt's bloody harvest? The most compelling evidence might be the simplest. Both entities want the same thing. Oedon seeks surrogates to bear children, spreading its bloodline through mystical pregnancy. The moon presence orchestrates hunts that ultimately lead to the collection of umbilical cords, the creation of new Great Ones, the perpetuation of the cosmic bloodline. The goals align so perfectly that separation seems forced, unnecessary, even impossible. If we accept that Oedon can transform from formless to form, the mechanism demands explanation. The game provides clues through its deepest mechanics and most disturbing imagery. Blood echoes aren't just power. They're literally echoes of life force, reverberations of existence itself. Every creature in Yharnam carries these echoes, and upon death, releases them. The hunter's dream serves as a collection point, a cosmic funnel directing this life force toward a specific purpose. The doll plays a crucial role in this transformation. She channels blood echoes, helping hunters transform raw life force into personal power. But where does the excess go? Not every echo becomes strength. Some dissipates, rises, accumulates elsewhere. The doll herself says she was created to love hunters, to serve them. But perhaps her true purpose runs deeper. She might be the midwife to a god's birth, channeling not just power but existence itself. The transformation theory suggests that Oedon, through the accumulation of blood, echoes over countless hunts, gradually builds a physical form. The formless god doesn't simply appear. It gestates, grows, emerges. The moon presence might not be Oedon transformed, but Oedon becoming, caught in an eternal process of manifestation that requires constant blood sacrifice to maintain. Pregnancy imagery saturates every corner of Bloodborne's narrative. Queen Yharnam carries Oedon's child eternally. The Great One's umbilical cords serve as items of ultimate power. The game's true ending requires consuming 3 such cords, filling yourself with the essence of divine birth. Even the moon presence's design evokes birth, that split ribcage resembling dilation, those emerging tentacles suggesting expulsion. The hunter's dream exists outside normal time and space, the perfect environment for impossible gestation. Here, linear time means nothing. Thousands of hunts might occur simultaneously, all feeding the same cosmic pregnancy. The workshop serves as nursery, the doll as nurse, Gehrman as the weary guardian of something he doesn't fully understand. The entire system resembles a vast reproductive organ, processing death into life, form from formlessness. Blood moon phases mark progression in this cosmic pregnancy. The moon grows fat with blood, then pales, then fills again. Each cycle brings the transformation closer to completion, yet never quite achieving it. The moon presence might be stuck in eternal labor, forever giving birth to itself, requiring endless blood to maintain the process. This explains the hunt's cyclical nature. It's not just cleaning up beasts, but feeding a divine transformation that can never quite complete. The concept of voice to form transformation appears in various mythologies that clearly influence Bloodborne. In Egyptian mythology, Ptah speaks creation into existence. In Christianity, the Word becomes flesh. Bloodborne takes these concepts and twists them into cosmic horror. Oedon's voice doesn't create external reality, it creates itself, speaking itself into existence through blood and dream and endless hunt. The doll's prayer becomes significant in this context. She prays to Flora, seemingly another name for the Moon Presence. But she also speaks of love, of purpose, of serving hunters. Her prayers might be less worship and more instruction, programming, the recitation of biological imperatives coded into her porcelain form. She loves hunters because hunters provide what the transformation needs: blood, echoes, death, the raw materials of divine becoming. When examining the Great One's reproductive challenges, we learn that every Great One loses its child. This seems like tragedy, but what if it's necessity? What if the child must be lost for the parent to truly become? The Moon Presence, orchestrating the hunt for Mergo, Oedon's child, suddenly makes sense. The child must die for the parent to fully manifest. The formless father must consume the formed child to achieve its own formation. This creates a paradox that threatens to shatter our understanding. Why would Oedon, having finally achieved form as the Moon Presence, orchestrate the death of its own offspring? The game provides answers through its most disturbing themes. The Great Ones operate on incomprehensible logic, where love and consumption intertwine. Parents devour children, children become parents, and the cycle perpetuates through violence that might be the closest thing to affection these entities can express. The hunt for Mergo becomes particularly poignant. This isn't just assassination, it's a form of cosmic recycling. Mergo's essence, that powerful child of Oedon and Queen Yharnam, must return to its source. The Moon Presence needs this power, this blood echo of its own bloodline, to maintain its physical manifestation. Every Great One loses its child, because every Great One must consume its child to truly become. Consider the alternative endings in this light. When you consume 3 umbilical cords and resist the Moon Presence's embrace, you don't just defeat it, you become it, transformed into an infant, Great One. The doll picks you up, cradling your larval form, and the cycle begins anew. You become the new vessel for Oedon's manifestation, the formless god jumping from one physical shell to another like a hermit crab exchanging homes. The childhood's beginning-ending gains profound meaning. You haven't transcended. You've become the newest iteration in an endless cycle of divine parasitism. Oedon moves from Moon Presence to Hunter, starting fresh in a new form. The doll will nurture this new incarnation. Hunters will feed it blood echoes, and eventually it will grow into another Moon Presence, orchestrating another hunt for its own children. Queen Yharnam's presence throughout the Chalice dungeons reinforces this interpretation. She exists in a state of eternal pregnancy and mourning, forever carrying and losing Mergo. But she also seems to guide hunters toward her child, almost eager for the confrontation. She understands the necessity. The child must return to the father. The formed must feed the forming. The cycle must continue. The wet nurse boss fight itself becomes a ritual of consumption. Mergo's wet nurse protects something that might not physically exist. Mergo is more concept than creature, a cry without a mouth, a child without a body. When you defeat the wet nurse, Mergo's cries fade, and the game tells you, nightmare slain. But you haven't killed a creature. You've ended a sound, silenced a voice. That voice returns to Oedon, who exists only in voice, completing a circuit that began with mystical pregnancy. The revelation that killing your own child might be an act of twisted love recontextualizes every relationship in Bloodborne. Gehrman mercy kills you to spare you from the dream. The Moon Presence embraces you after you kill Gehrman. Every act of violence becomes an act of intimacy in this cosmic ecosystem where death and birth interweave inseparably. Hidden within Bloodborne's development, history lie fascinating connections that support this theory. Hidetaka Miyazaki drew heavily from various mythologies, particularly Norse mythology, where Odin sacrificed himself to himself for knowledge. The phonetic similarity between Odin and Oedon seems intentional, especially given Odin's association with hidden knowledge and transformation. Oedon hung himself from Yggdrasil, the world tree, piercing himself with his own spear, a god killing himself to become more godly. The Lovecraftian influences run even deeper. Azathoth, the blind idiot god at the center of existence, dreams reality into being, while remaining fundamentally unconscious of its creation. The Moon Presence orchestrating hunts from within a dream parallels this concept. Meanwhile, Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos, serves as Azathoth's soul and messenger, taking countless forms to interact with humanity. A formless god becoming form to interface with the physical world mirrors this relationship. Visual design documents revealed in art books show early concepts where the Moon Presence appeared more embryonic, more explicitly fetal. The developers pulled back from this imagery in the final design, but traces remain: the vulnerable appearance, the exposed internals, the sense of something not fully formed despite its immense power. The Moon Presence looks like something caught mid-transformation, frozen between states. The game's original working title, Project Beast, takes on new meaning. The beast, scourge that plagues Yharnam, might be more than corruption. It could be failed attempts at the same transformation Oedon achieves. Humans consuming blood attempt to become more than human, but lack the cosmic infrastructure to complete the change. They become beasts, while Oedon becomes the Moon Presence, parallel transformations with vastly different outcomes. From Software's tendency to hide crucial lore in item descriptions reaches its apex with the third umbilical cord descriptions. Each one tells a piece of the story. Oedon's child with Queen Yharnam, the experiments at Byrgenwerth, the creation of the hunter's dream. But when read together, they describe a single process, the translation of formless divinity into physical reality through blood, dream, and sacrifice. The Japanese original text provides nuances lost in translation. The term translated as formless for Oedon carries connotations of not yet formed rather than eternally formless. This suggests a state of potential rather than limitation, a god waiting to be born rather than condemned to invisibility. The Moon Presence's Japanese name similarly implies presence rather than entity, a manifestation rather than a separate being. Environmental storytelling supports the connection through architectural details. Oedon Chapel's architecture mirrors the Hunter's Dream workshop in subtle ways. Similar angles, comparable proportions, as if built from the same cosmic blueprint. The chapel's position in Yharnam, central yet humble, mirrors the dream's position outside reality, central yet separate. Both spaces serve as sanctuaries that are simultaneously prisons. The multiplayer component adds another layer. When hunters summon help or invade worlds, they're crossing between parallel hunts, parallel dreams. Every player's hunt feeds the same cosmic mechanism. Thousands of hunters across thousands of dreams, all channeling blood echoes toward the same transformation. The Moon Presence doesn't oversee one hunt. It oversees all hunts simultaneously, existing in a quantum state where every possible outcome occurs. Musical analysis reveals harmonic patterns that connect seemingly disparate themes. The Oedon Chapel theme contains inverted sections of the Moon Presence theme, slowed down and played in minor keys. The Lullaby. Mergo's Wet Nurse plays during the boss fight contains note progressions that appear in both themes, suggesting a familial relationship between all three pieces. The composer's embedded relationships that the conscious mind might miss, but the unconscious recognizes. Of course, compelling counter-arguments exist. The most obvious: if Oedon lacks form and the Moon Presence has form, they must be different entities. This interpretation assumes that states are permanent rather than transitional, but Bloodborne consistently shows transformation as its central theme. Humans become beasts, scholars become kin, hunters become great ones. Why couldn't a formless god become formed? The surrogate theory suggests the Moon Presence might be Oedon's greatest surrogate rather than Oedon itself. Just as Queen Yharnam bore Oedon's child, perhaps the Moon Presence serves as Oedon's physical avatar, separate but connected. This interpretation maintains distinction while acknowledging connection, suggesting a symbiotic relationship rather than unity. Some argue the Moon Presence represents a failed Great One, a cosmic demon rather than a true deity. Its appearance in the hunter's dream only after Gehrman's defeat suggests imprisonment rather than dominion. Perhaps Gehrman guards against the Moon Presence rather than serving it, and killing him releases something that should have remained contained. The skeletal appearance might indicate decay rather than transformation, a god dying rather than being born. The chronology presents challenges too. If the Moon Presence existed when Lawrence and Gehrman first beckoned it, how could it simultaneously be Oedon becoming? Unless time operates differently for Great Ones, unless the transformation exists outside linear chronology. The hunter's dream exists outside time, so perhaps the Moon Presence's entire existence occurs in a temporal loop where beginning and end merge. Community debates rage over whether Flora represents a separate entity entirely. The name appears in cut content in file names, but never in the game itself. Flora could be the Moon Presence's true name, Oedon's physical form's name, or something else entirely. The floral imagery throughout Bloodborne, the white flowers in the hunter's dream, the lumen flowers in the research hall, might connect to Flora as a concept rather than an entity. The blood echo argument faces scrutiny too. If blood echoes feed Oedon's transformation into the Moon Presence, why does the player character absorb them? The answer might lie in the game's final revelation. You don't just absorb them, you become them. The player character serves as another vessel for the same transformation, competing with or complementing the Moon Presence's own consumption. Yet despite these objections, the evidence overwhelmingly suggests connection rather than separation. The mechanical similarities, the thematic parallels, the shared goals, the intertwined symbolism all point toward unity. The counter-arguments rely on assuming permanence in a game about transformation, separation in a narrative about connection, clarity in a story deliberately built on ambiguity. Understanding this theory transforms every aspect of Bloodborne's narrative. The hunt becomes a cosmic harvesting operation, gathering blood echoes to feed a god's transformation. The hunter's dream reveals itself as a divine gestation chamber where the formless becomes form through accumulated death. Every boss fight, every blood vial consumed, every death and rebirth contributes to an incomprehensible pregnancy that births God from nothing. The player's role shifts from hero to unwitting accomplice. You arrive seeking Paleblood to cure an illness, but Paleblood is the Moon Presence, which is Oedon becoming. Your entire journey serves the very force you might think you're opposing. Every beast slain, every Great One challenged, every echo collected furthers the transformation you don't even know is happening. The game's multiple endings gain new meaning through this lens. The Yharnam sunrise ending, where you accept Gehrman's mercy, kill and awaken in the real world, represents escape from the cycle, but also failure to understand what truly occurred. You leave thinking the hunt was a dream, never realizing you participated in divine birth. The Honoring Wishes ending, where you replace Gehrman as the dream's guardian, shows you becoming the next custodian of Oedon's transformation. You'll oversee countless hunts, guide countless hunters, all serving the same cosmic pregnancy. The Moon Presence is embraced as an enslave. It inducts you into understanding, making you complicit in the eternal cycle. The childhood's beginning ending achieves transcendence through becoming. You don't defeat the Moon Presence. You replace it, becoming the new vessel for Oedon's manifestation. The cycle resets with you as the forming god, the doll as your nursemaid, and future hunters as your unwitting servants. You've won by becoming the very thing you fought, transcended by accepting transformation rather than resisting it. The theme of eyes gaining cosmic insight extends to this revelation. The more insight you gain, the more you see the world's true horror. But the ultimate insight might be recognizing that you're inside something's body, that all of Yharnam, all of the dream, exists within Oedon's expanding form. The cosmos isn't out there among the stars. You're already inside it, a blood cell in a god's circulatory system. Every NPC's story arc feeds this interpretation. Eileen hunts hunters who've gone blood drunk, preventing them from disrupting the system. Alfred seeks to destroy the vile bloods who corrupt the blood Oedon needs pure. The chapel dweller gathers survivors beneath Oedon's protection, keeping the blood supply safe. Even the suspicious man who sends people to the opposite location serves the system by ensuring only the worthy reach sanctuary. The healing church's rise and fall becomes inevitable rather than tragic. They discovered the old blood and thought they could control it, never realizing it was controlling them. Their blood ministration spread Oedon's influence throughout Yharnam, preparing the city for its role in cosmic transformation. The church served its purpose and dissolved when no longer needed, another disposable tool in an incomprehensible plan. The beast scourge itself might be Oedon's immune system, transforming those who consume blood improperly into monsters that must be hunted. This creates a self-perpetuating cycle. Blood heals but also corrupts, creating beasts that hunters must kill, generating blood echoes that feed the transformation. The disease is the cure. The problem is the solution. The curse is the blessing. The presence of multiple Great Ones throughout the game shows different stages or failed attempts at the same transformation. Ebrietas weeps in the church, possibly mourning her failure to complete the change. Rom hides beneath the lake, her transformation arrested at an intermediate stage. The amygdalas represent mass-produced versions, lesser copies of the true transformation. Only the Moon Presence achieved what Oedon intended, full manifestation while maintaining cosmic power. We've reached the precipice of understanding, standing at the edge of a revelation that recontextualized everything about Bloodborne's cosmic horror. The evidence we've examined, from blood echoes to birth imagery, from mythological parallels to mechanical connections, paints a picture that's both beautiful and terrifying. The Moon Presence as Oedon transforms Bloodborne from a story about hunting beasts into a meditation on the nature of divinity itself. The Formless becoming formed through blood sacrifice isn't just horror, it's the fundamental process of existence in Yharnam's cosmos. Every religion speaks of gods becoming flesh, spirit becoming matter, word becoming world. Bloodborne takes this universal myth and shows its horrific underside. The violence required for transcendence, the death that enables birth. From Software's genius lies not in confirming or denying this theory, but in constructing a narrative that supports multiple interpretations while hinting at deeper truth. The ambiguity isn't laziness, it's deliberate, forcing players to engage with uncertainty, to find meaning in mystery. Whether you accept that the Moon Presence is Oedon or see them as separate entities, the exploration itself transforms your understanding of the game. The hunt never truly ends because the transformation never truly completes. Oedon exists in eternal becoming, forever transitioning from formless to form, requiring endless blood to maintain a manifestation that defies its own nature. The Moon Presence might be less entity and more process, less being and more becoming. We haven't met a god. We've witnessed a god being born over and over in an endless labor that defines Yharnam's existence. This interpretation elevates Bloodborne beyond mere horror into cosmic poetry. The game becomes a meditation on identity, transformation, and the price of transcendence. Every player who picks up the controller participates in this divine birth, becoming midwife to a god they don't understand, serving purposes beyond their comprehension. The true horror isn't the beasts or the blood, it's the recognition that you were never the hero of this story. You were always the instrument, the tool, the sacrifice. The beauty lies in the game's refusal to make this explicit. Like the greatest works of cosmic horror, Bloodborne shows rather than tells, implies rather than states, suggests rather than confirms. The Moon Presence. Oedon connection exists in negative space, in the gaps between what's said, in the shadows cast by partial revelation. The truth hides in plain sight, waiting for eyes granted enough insight to perceive it. As we reach the end of this journey through blood and dream, consider what this means for your next playthrough. Every lantern lit connects to a cosmic nervous system. Every boss defeated feeds a god's growth. Every death and return represents participation in something beyond mortal understanding. you could never play Bloodborne innocently again. The knowledge transforms the experience, adding layers of meaning to every action. Thank you, fellow hunters, for joining me in unraveling what might be Bloodborne's deepest secret. This exploration into the connection between the Moon Presence and Oedon represents the kind of deep lore analysis that makes these games endlessly fascinating. If this journey through Yharnam's cosmic mysteries has granted you new insight, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support allows these investigations to continue, diving ever deeper into gaming's most intricate narratives. Share your own theories and interpretations in the comments below. Has this evidence convinced you that the Moon Presence is Oedon transformed? Or do you see another explanation for these countless connections? The beauty of Bloodborne lies in its ability to support multiple readings while hinting at ultimate truth just beyond our grasp. Remember, in Yharnam, the most dangerous truths are those that transform the seeker. You've sought the Paleblood, and perhaps you've found it. Not in the Moon Presence alone, not in Oedon alone, but in the recognition that they might be one and the same, forever transforming, forever becoming, forever requiring the blood that you so willingly provide. Until next time, this has been Keen 7 Lore, reminding you that in the world of the Great Ones, every answer breeds new questions, every revelation deepens the mystery, and every hunt serves purposes beyond mortal comprehension. May you find your worth in the waking world, even as you realize that world might be nothing more than another layer of dream, another chamber in the cosmic body of a god learning how to exist. The pale moon watches still, pregnant with possibilities, waiting for the next hunter to enter the dream and feed its endless transformation. The hunt begins again, as it always has, as it always will, blood echoing through eternity in the voice of a formless God made flesh.